Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm Courtney.
Hey, Courtney, how are you? We said hi. Hi, Jack, how are you? Yeah, I know. Yes. I'm looking at you, I'm thinking, why do I know this guy? I think I met everybody else, didn't I?
No.
No, I didn't. Let me say hi. Good to see you, man. Nice to see you.
I'm Carl
You're doing a great job with these guys. They're bragging about you. Hi, Jude. Great to see you, Jude. Thanks for your service. What branch? Air Force.
Rowie from HBO.
Hey, Jay, I tell you what, you got aspiring folks in this operation. Well, great.
Thank you.
Okay.
So if I may make some introductory remarks, please. I will read my initial remarks and then I have a few additional comments. Mr. Vice President, community leaders, guests and colleagues, welcome to West Los Angeles College. This is truly a momentous occasion. We celebrate the visit to West Los Angeles College of the Vice President of the United States in the same breath as we rejoice for a needed expansion of the educational opportunities for California community college students, with the inception of the career education bachelor's degree in which this college will take part. As we discuss this broadening of the educational and economic opportunity for our students and communities, my Chancellor, Board of Trustees leaders, and I are eager to engage with the administration and our business and community partners in discussions of how to shape the coming initiatives to help advance the completion agenda for community college students. The challenges to students seeking social mobility, access to meaningful work, and a fulfilling civic life are the story of America today. At West Los Angeles College, like all community colleges, my excellent faculty and staff colleagues dedicate their lives to our students. We need the support from industry partners to even better integrate our programs and the job training aspect of our mission, so we can prepare students for jobs that are emerging today, will be around tomorrow, and for a lifetime of careers that have yet to be invented. In this gloriously changing world of knowledge growth and of improvement of matters of social justice, in both of which LA College is intimately intertwined, we need that support and we need that engagement and we need excellent ideas. So to have a seat at your table, I thank you.
This is your house, Mr. President.
and to be part of this conversation, I would like to add a few really important comments. California community college students comprise 1/4 of community college students in the United States. 1 of every 4 is in California. We have a unique set of challenges and opportunities tied to the support that California already gives to community colleges that creates a fee structure that is very low. Without getting into details, our challenge is not tuition. Our challenge is the cost of living in California, the challenge of having to work and go to college part-time, which is the greatest contributor to the non-completion. So as we look for solutions from our government, from industry, and other partners, we're looking for ways to make it possible for mothers to have support so they can study, for people to have support who don't have the financial means for transportation, for loans to not deter students from going to college full-time, because that's what they end up having to do. And putting all those packages together, ultimately we would like to see the 1/3 of our students who go full-time and are more likely to complete and transfer to university or go out into the career world, would like to see that become more like 90% and only serve part-time those who are getting continuing education. That is the big challenge in front of us, but I also think that is how America will succeed to compete in this knowledge world. So again, I thank you, and I welcome everybody to West, and as we say here, go West, go far.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President, Dr. Ghazaleh, for the opportunity to come back to West. I attended West LA College. 3 of my kids attended college here, and what you have done in your tenure here has really been tremendous. I want you to know, Mr. Vice President, that Mr. President here is active in the community. We see him everywhere. I put on town hall meetings. He is out spreading the word and the good works at West LA College all over Los Angeles, and I really appreciate you for your leadership. My responsibility here is to introduce our Vice President, and I'm so honored that he is in the 37th Congressional District today. And years before he was Vice President, when Senator Biden was in the Senate, he championed education for many years. As a matter of fact, he championed the Access Program, and the Access Program covered tuition for the first 2 years of college and also increased Pell Grants, which is a key way that our students are able to complete college. As Vice President, the Vice President and the President championed education from day one. And one thing that many people might not remember is the work that the 2 of you did around student loans from the moment you got there, which we know and I just think is incredible. I don't like to tell young people how much I paid to go to college. But knowing that many young people leave college today with $100,000, $200,000 loans is just really not acceptable. In addition, what the President and Vice President has done in their tenure is the American Opportunity Tax Credit to continue with the first 4,000 years of college for free in the form of a tax credit, simplifying the application process for financial aid. And I'm sure that all of you saw the State of the Union, where the State of the Union, the President said something that we need to do in our country. We don't even think about paying for education K through 12. We need to change our mindset, and K through 12 now needs to be K through 14, and I believe the Vice President believes it needs to be K through 16. So being here today at West LA College a few days after the State of the Union, to me it's the kickoff in my district to champion the policies that the President put forward in the State of the Union. And I know the President and the Vice President are going around the country drumming up support so that we can get these measures passed through the House and the Senate and on the President's desk. Welcome, Mr. Vice President.
Well, thank you, Karen. I'm Professor Jill Biden's husband, and who is, as I speak, teaching in the classroom, although it's 3 hours time difference, I can't swear that now, but she teaches a full load, 15 credits at Northern Virginia Community College, and prior to that, she taught, before I became Vice President, she taught full-time at Delaware Community College. And my wife has had the expression for a long time, and I really mean this, and not a joke. She'd tell everybody the best kept secret in America is the community college system. The other expression she's used is that any country that out-educates us will outcompete us. Any country that out-educates us will outcompete us. And I'd like to say at the outset, first of all, I was truly impressed with, I'm sorry if I kept you waiting, but with the dental hygienist program. What an incredible array of a few men and a lot of women. But I really mean it, impressive, impressive. A number of them already had 4-year degrees. Every one of them had attended either here or another community college to get the science requisites to be able to get into this program. They all have an awful lot are married, a lot of single mothers. You know, it's one thing to live in a middle or upper middle class community and still hard to pay for college, but go to high school, straight to college, move out, but to go back to college when you're 25, 27 years old, having been a single mother, working, trying to figure out how I can get into a full-time program that can put me in a position, by the way, the median income for dental hygienists with a 2-year degree is $70,000 a year. You can live a middle-class life on that. There are jobs out there with real access. But I just want to speak to the courage of the folks I met. Matter of fact, I literally invited them all back to the White House. And I think no, not a joke. No,
He
not
said he
a
wants to
joke.
go back and get his teeth pulled.
We're putting it together. And, but, you know, so the opening comment I'd like to make, the average student at this community college is 25 years of age. The average student where my wife is, I think, is 29. Some colleges it's even higher. All of you, cameramen, reporters, if you're out of school for a while, all kidding aside, imagine how intimidating it is. You say you're going to go back to school. You're going to go back to school. It takes a lot of courage. It's an intimidating process. If you hadn't been, you were in high school, you did all right, you weren't crazy about it, you've been out 5, 10, 12, 15 years. So I'm going back. I need more education. So the first thing I'd like to say is what a remarkable group of students, by and large, community college students are, for real. Second point I'd like to make is there's a reason why we have led the world for the past 100 and some years. It's because we've had the best education system in the world. And you say, well, all the criticism about elementary and secondary education, etc. The reason why we, in the Industrial Revolution, leaped ahead of every other nation in the world is we're the first nation in the world to have free 12 years of education. Regardless of your background, regardless of where you came, regardless of the neighborhood, regardless of your wealth, every single American, as a matter of right, had a right to 12 years of public education. We also are the only nation in the world that have the equivalent of what we did, Lincoln did, land-grant colleges. There's really great land-grant colleges like the University of Delaware, where I went. You're supposed to laugh at that. It is a great college, but also school, MIT's a land-grant college. So there's, what it meant was every single part of the nation, every state had access to a university. And then we came along and we leaped ahead to the rest of the world. When we decided that after World War II, the greatest equalizer I think that occurred was the GI Bill. Those millions of men and women coming home who were, you know, Irish Catholics like my family, and people who were African American, and people who were minorities. All of a sudden, they were able to go to Harvard and Yale and MIT and Stanford, etc. And it was the greatest equalizer. We're no longer this two-tiered sort of system. And maybe the most significant thing we did was President Eisenhower. When the Sputnik era hit and we were all racing to see whether we were behind the curve with Russians, with then the Soviets, there was a very, very important study done. A commission put together, what should we do? And one of the recommendations that they put forward, most were adopted. One was that we should invest heavily in pure and applied research, but we should do it through government institutions, like everything from NIH, the National Science Foundation, etc. And the commission said, no, we will invest, but the bulk of our investments should be at universities. What do you hear most often, those reporters who cover international affairs? Why are people coming home? We have by far and away the finest research universities in the world. There's not 10 other nations in the world combined that could match the intellectual horsepower and innovation that comes out of those universities. So what has always kept us ahead, but the rest of the world's catching up. The rest of the world's catching up. And you see everywhere from China to other parts of the world. And we have to stay ahead of the curve. And if I were going to ask all of you in the press a rhetorical question, do you think 12 years is enough in the year 2015? Do you think 12, I'm not asking you to respond, obviously, but all kidding aside, 12 years is not enough in 2015. We know that at least 6 out of 10 jobs the last 2 years and through the next 8 years are going to require something beyond a college degree. We know that. We know that. And America's on the cusp of the greatest economic renaissance since after World War II. Not because of Barack and me, or the President and me, but because we are poised We're better positioned than any nation in the world to lead the world economically. Look at the numbers, look at the World Bank projections, look at what the IMF projections. We're the only nation in the world where we're projected to grow significantly. Every other nation is going to have their GDP cut significantly. The Chinese is projected to be cut in half of what it was for the previous 15 years. That's not a good thing. We want them to grow. We want to be able to sell them our products. But all kidding aside, Europe, so we're positioned here. But there's two things we need to continue to have industry, and of all industry, including service industries and IT, to come home. We have to have the most advanced education, the best educated population in the world. And I will not talk about it today, but we have to have the most modern infrastructure in the world. On the one, we're keeping pace, but we're not surging ahead, education. And the other, we're way behind, infrastructure. For example, we have, that's why I admire your governor so much. I'm a big Jerry Brown fan on high-speed rail and so on. Because look, here's the deal, guys. We rank 26th in the world in quality of infrastructure. The United States of America, 26th in the world we rank. It's not even believable, but it's true. So, takes me specifically to what President and I have talked about since we got elected, and trying to find the opportunity to move and promote it where we can get it done. The economy is back. It is back now, and that is not just me. Republicans, Democrats, every econometric model. We created 11 million new jobs. We created more jobs than all the other industrialized nations in the world combined. Let me say it again, than all the other industrialized nations in the world combined. And it's because of the grit of the American people. We also have healthcare inflation is the lowest it's been in 50 years. 50 years. Manufacturing hiring is at the fastest pace since the 90s. And we are the #1 producer of energy in the world. The epicenter of energy in the 21st century will not be in the Arabian Peninsula. It will not be in Africa. It's in North America. That's not hyperbole. That's a fact. That's a fact. We have more gas and oil rigs pumping right now than the rest of the world combined. We have double solar energy and wind energy. We're leading now. And so this is no time to slow up. And the only thing that can stand in the way is the educated workforce. You know, A.T. Kearney, a big management company, a lot of people know it's one of the finest in the world. They do a survey every year. I think they've been doing it for 38, 39 years. And they ask one question among others of the 300 largest industrialists in the world. Where's the best place in the world to invest? This year, by a margin larger than any time in the history of the survey, they've said the United States of America. In manufacturing, in IT, in healthcare, in service industries, across the board. So we can't lose this opportunity. Which takes me back to why 12 years is not enough. Community colleges are what we have to do now that the economy's back is we have to make sure that we bring the middle class back. They're still being left behind. It's moving, the wages went up a couple %, but it's behind. You said something, a number of things, Mr. President, very interesting. I was taking notes. You said that you're less worried about tuition than you are about the ancillary requirements of housing and transportation and childcare. That's why we proposed in this year's budget a $3,000 tax credit for childcare. That's why we proposed that and loan payback. You never have to pay back more than 10% of your disposable income with any loans you acquire. That's why we have kept that $2,500 a year tax credit off the bottom line. Average community college cost 2 years across the nation is about $3,300. So there's a reason why people don't worry as much about tuition. The federal government, because of Barack Obama, now allows you to drop it off the bottom line of your taxes. And so we have worked very hard on student loan programs and the rest. But here's the thing about community colleges that we've understood because of talking to leaders like you and the Congresswoman, and I mean it sincerely, all across the country. We're aware that, for example, Kentucky, the Tennessee, the Republican governor of Tennessee, and 2 Republican senators, they have a good community college program down there. It's really advanced, and they provide a state tuition for the community college. But there's still a big gap. So when we put together our program, you are able to, those in need of childcare, those in need of housing allowance and help, those in need of transportation, have no car, there's no bus to get there, you are allowed to use, if you qualify for a Pell Grant, you're allowed to use that for transportation, for housing, for childcare, for the things that are the impediments that would keep you from being able to attend, even with free tuition. That's the deal difference between what we're proposing and what beyond just tuition, because we realize, and again, the person who educated me this, and I'm not being a wise guy, is my wife. She can only tell me the students are the struggle they have to get to, just physically get to the campus, being able to pay for housing. Washington area is pretty expensive too. So, the point that I want to make here, and there's many points to make, is that we have a gigantic advantage right now in this country, and that's why we've invested nearly $4 billion in competitive grants since I've been vice president to community colleges. And the last generic point I'll make is this. Community colleges are the most flexible educational instrument we have in the nation. They're flexible. For example, the study I did last year that was issued, the report that was issued about job opportunities, job openings, retraining, etc. We spent an awful lot of time on it. And for example, we found that there are 100,000 manufacturing jobs in the United States today that are not able to be filled because of a lack of technology. For example, the solar industry. Very qualified people who lost their job as a machinist or lost their job in industry. They're fully intellectually qualified for the jobs, but they have no training in photovoltaic technology. And they need it. But you only need a 16-week course to do it. So across the nation, we put together in this community college consortium, as well as partnership with business, you get major businesses located all across America, from Dow to major manufacturing, Yale Lock, etc., all coming back to the United States. And we provide the money for them to walk in. It's usually the board of the community colleges that are made up of business leaders who survey. I'll give you one example. Rochester, New York. Rochester, New York was probably the quintessential middle-class city in America. Kodak had 35,000 employees in Rochester. They also had Xerox in Rochester, Bausch & Lomb in Rochester. I mean, really fine jobs. Well, you know, Kodak doesn't make film anymore. Brownie cameras aren't very much in vogue. They have lost, wow, don't hold me to this, but they've lost at least 70% of their employee base. That's devastating to a city. They also found out they lost, you saw with Xerox has downsized there. And Bausch & Lomb, one of the great optic companies, downsized. But what the board did, they went out and they surveyed the board of Monroe Community College in Rochester. And they surveyed every business in the surrounding 3 counties. And they found out that there were well over 100 spin-off companies from Kodak, from Bausch & Lomb, et cetera. And they said, what are your needs? We don't have enough qualified people. So they put together a program based on the needs of the business community, brought the business community in and said, what do you need taught? And one of the small companies, for example, that they teach to is the same outfit on the Mars rover, the lens on the Mars rover. They make that lens. They created about 5,000 jobs in the same industries, all through the community college. All through the community college. That's happening all over America. It was just in Detroit. Detroit's just getting off its back onto its knees. But what they found out was there was this great exodus over the last 10 years in Detroit of a sound bureaucratic middle class with real, bureaucracy, with real talent that you need to run big cities. And now that they're coming back, they found out they immediately need 1,000 computer programmers. And there's this outfit, what's the name of the outfit? UST Global, that is a placement entity for IT companies. And so they came in and put together a 16-week program at the community college in Detroit. And they went out literally into the hood, in the neighborhoods. Not a joke. All women had turned out, the first class that I spoke to, some around 30, 35, I don't know the exact number. The day before they graduated, I went to see them. Average, no, I won't give you the average age, youngest person in the room was 24 years old. The oldest person, 56. Average age, I guess, was in the 40s. These were all women who came back with nothing but a high school degree, had the courage to come back in and try to learn a new language, coding. Guess what? Every one of them, the day of graduation, the lowest paying job offered was $59,000. The highest paid $107,000. We need 1,300,000 IT persons now. It does not require a 4-year degree. In some cases, not even a 2-year degree. So the point is, the community colleges are a vehicle for that kind of work. And they're also the vehicle for the kind of work these folks are doing. We need 660,000 registered nurses. Average salary, median salary, $75,000 with a 2-year degree. Now there's more asked for 4-year degrees. I could go down the list, but the community colleges are the only ones that have the flexibility to provide both those services. That's why we spent $4 billion in putting this together. In addition, now we want to get to the point where it is for, you'll find for a significant number of middle-class people who can't afford, they want a 4-year degree, and they don't want it in a science, they want a 4-year degree, they want to be an English professor, they want to study international relations, they want to, whatever it is. But the cost is prohibitive. Average debt, $28,000 for everyone nationwide when they graduate. If you go to a private university, it's more like $75,000. By the way, those of you who have children high school age, don't make the mistake I made. Don't tell your children you'll get them to any university they can get into. I already did. Big mistake. I already did. What happened was I did the same thing. Unfortunately, my house kept going up in value, and I was able to help. But each of my children graduated in debt after 7 years of school. They have graduate degrees, all of them. $90,000 to $140,000 in debt. They worked in school, they worked 30 hours a week in school, and they still had that debt. So, the vehicle to be able to get a college education, which is now tuition in public universities averages $9,000 a year, it's still a lot. It's still a lot. It's $36,000. It's hard to come by. And that doesn't count room, board, tuition, books, or anything else if you are in that situation. But if you were able to have your first 2 years free, because the community college has a course structure that's transferable, like California, like Delaware, like Virginia, like an awful lot of states. The concluding comment I'll make, and it's really about carrying your alma mater. This is one of the really incredible examples. Because the only way you'll be able to get your free tuition paid at a community college for 2 years is if the community college, number one, offers credits that you can acquire in 2 years that will allow you to transfer, if you choose, transfer to a 4-year college and having completed 2 years toward that degree at that college. And the second requirement is you have to, if it's job placement and training programs, you have to have a record, which we will look at, Department of Education will look at, that does two things. We have a high graduation rate and a high placement rate. Because we are not going to waste taxpayers' money if, in fact, the school is not viewed as having the quality to be able to place. Now, I know HBO's here, I know other institutions here. HBO's not going to come here if the quality of the training you're providing is not up to the standards of HBO. And it's that way across America. So, we have a gigantic opportunity to do a great service not only to our children and our young people and people who need to be retrained, but we have a gigantic opportunity to position the United States of America in a position for the second half of the second decade of this century to lead the world. This is not hyperbole. Lead the economy of the world for the next 50 years. So, I thank you for inviting me here, Mr. President. Chancellor, I apologize, I didn't even mention you. You have the whole, you have, as was pointed out to me by the president of the board over here, that there's 4 million people in, you know, that's, I was a senator for a long time, that's 4 times the size of my state. And by the way, there's 5 states smaller than us. So you've done an incredible job here. You've been doing it for a long time. And I hope you won't be offended, I don't think you will, if we hold you up as a model of what we need to extrapolate from here, community college across the country. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
By the way, I was prepared to have you all stay, but the reason why, and I think you learn a lot along with me, but since some of the incidents may be personal about how I got here, why I'm here, it was decided by the school that we should have this a totally private exchange. So that's the only reason, guys.
Mr. Vice President, I want to thank you and the President for your leadership. What you're doing will transform the lives of not only thousands and tens of thousands of our students, but it will transform the lives of millions of Americans. And your leadership and the President's in understanding the needs of our community college students and that we're the engine that will drive the country's economy in the future is something that hopefully the Congress will see fit to support. As president of the largest community college district in the nation, I want to tell you, I'm ready to stand with you and help you pass this and make sure that the country knows that our students need this and that they're the neediest and most diverse students in the nation, and we thank you for your leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's head out, folks.